From 1995 to 2004, I was a member of a religion known as the Bahai Faith. This religion teaches that God is called by various names, but is still the same all over the world, that all religions teach the same basic message, and that humanity is actually one race and is destined to unite under the banner of the Bahai Faith in a new age of peace and unity. I was eager to see and to achieve the highest goodness in my life and in the world, so this was a godsend to me. I embraced the faith after attending firesides about it in Bedford, Texas, and became an active teacher of it, even attempting to convert others to it. I had been a Christian, specifically a Southern Baptist, in my teens, but had become disgusted with Christianity and left that faith in my early 20s because I saw the errors, contradictions, and failures of it. The Bahai Faith explained that away by claiming that while Jesus was indeed the messenger or manifestation of God, his faith had become corrupted over time, and thus most Christians were not truly following him, but the doctrines of men. In joining the Bahai community, I thought I was seeing what the early Christians in the Roman Empire were like, except that unlike them, the Baha'is would not split into competing sects and engage in wars against each other. If only everyone in the world became Baha'i, I was told, we would be at peace and prosperity forever. What a wonderful vision. But human nature will never allow for it. The reason is that the leadership of the Bahai Faith, from its founder, Baha'u'llah, to the Universal House of Justice today, claims to be infallible because it is guided by God. Yet we know that Baha'u'llah, his son Abdul-Baha''s grandson Shaghi Effendi, the guardian of the faith, and the members of the Universal House of Justice were and are all human beings. What evidence do we have that any of them are infallible? None. And if you cannot question the will of the leadership, what do you in fact have? Tyranny. And what does tyranny always lead to, according to history? Corruption and injustice. And that, in turn, results in the system breaking down over time. Indeed, the very idea that any human being, human-run institution, or human product is infallible is sheer nonsense. It is the most dangerous idea in the world. Also, I finally began to see that the Bahai Faith also has errors, contradictions, and failures of its own, despite being less than 200 years old. It was my coming to understand this that finally led me to leave the faith with a heavy heart. So at the end of 2004, realizing that I had to remove myself from that community outright as a matter of honor, I wrote the following to the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States. After years of investigation and soul-searching, I have finally come to the sad understanding that I could no longer bring myself to believe in Baha'u'llah or any of the institutions established in his name, including the guardianship and the Universal House of Justice. I am totally convinced that the Bahai Faith is doomed to fail in its mission to bring peace, unity, and a golden age to humanity, and I therefore resign from my past membership in the faith. Goodbye. Regretfully, Dale Husband. I composed that letter on my computer and then mailed it in January of 2005. A few weeks later, the National Spiritual Assembly replied that they had accepted my resignation and expressed hope that I would one day decide to return. That looked like denial to me, so I dismissed it and threw away the letter. Then I cut completely all personal ties to the Baha'is in the Fort Worth area. Despite this, I stayed silent about my defection from the Bahai Faith until October 19, 2007, when I posted my first blog entry attacking it. Encouraged by the feedback I got as a result, I stepped up my efforts until I found myself in battle over the years with various members of my former religion, all of whom only showed me why I had no reason for being among them anymore. I have joined the Unitarian Universalist Association and found its principles to be far more enlightened than those of the Baha'is. And better still, they truly live those principles too. First principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Second principle, justice, equity and compassion in human relations. Third principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Fourth principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Sixth principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Despite my rejection of most Baha'i teachings, I later supported my friend Eric Stetson's effort to establish a new Unitarian Baha'i community, blending Baha'i and Unitarian Universalist ideas. We thought it was the only way to save the Bahai Faith itself from continuing to degenerate into a destructive cult. But the Unitarian Baha'is remain an online community of only a few dozen members, and even Stetson left it to return to liberal forms of Christianity. In 2018, I joined Reddit in a subreddit for former Baha'is and have been mostly focused on discrediting the Baha'i Faith and promoting Unitarian Universalism there. This led me into more battles with Baha'is and increased my determination to see the Baha'i Faith crash and burn into total oblivion. I am atheist now, worshipping no God and refusing to adhere to any other religion than that of the Unitarian Universalist Association. And I do not foresee myself being anything else. The Baha'i Faith was the last chance I was willing to give for a God-centered religion to rule my life. And now I know that none ever will.